very positive attitude. You could tell that they're serious. They also have an edge of humor about them. Norm is very humorous, but he's also very serious, and you can just tell. You know, it's really a quality. It's that charisma that comes across, and then of course you get to see them play. You know, because a lot of people have this attitude, and even having the attitude and not having as much talent as Norm has. We've seen people do very well in this industry, but when you add the talent level that Norm has, you've got a much, much better chance at making it in the music industry.
The benefits that Norman does. He does so much for the community and for the state as a musician. Lots of free benefits and free concerts. Is that one of the things you enjoy covering as a writer?
Well, I'll tell you, I enjoy when anybody in business does something worthwhile. Norman happened to do, I think it was for, was it for a homeless shelter?
Actually, it was for the children in the neighborhood.
Okay.
A family night of jazz.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, how many people put on family nights of music in town?
Right.
So in Norman's case, yeah, it was something that caught my eye, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And you know, I hadn't been in the job that long when Pam called me, maybe a couple months. And for me, it was a way of getting to know at least a little bit what was going on out there.
Sure.
And as it turned out, it was something that was pretty darn good. Yeah, I mean, it's always good when somebody does something and does it from the heart and not as a publicity ploy or, you know, and that's something I've never caught from them either. It's just,
right.
It's straight shooting.
I know I've been at several events that Norman has done for the food bank.
Yes.
To share our strength this past year, and then at Christmas time it was
A Matter of Vision.
Right.
Was the name of the concert.
A Matter of Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another wonderful name. So that's that. He really is a person who gives back to the community in so many ways. How has Norman changed over the 8 or so years that you've come to know?
He's become more focused in terms of what he wants to do. I mean, I believe that he wants to do music full time. And I'm not saying that he didn't want to do it at one time, but when I first met him, he was working a job, and maybe he was dabbling a little bit. But now that seems to be his main goal, is to make it in this industry, and I believe that he will.
What's your favorite Norman Evans story?
You know, with Norman, he's so talented that you just never know what he's going to do musically. And one day he came in the store, and I heard in the keyboard department, I heard this great music coming out of there, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and then I finally peek my head in, and there's Norman, and he's just playing away, and I said to him, I says, you know, Norm, that really sounds great. What is that? I figured it was a song he was working on. He says, no, I'm just goofing and playing. And I said, you know, Norm, I says, you ought to goof and play a lot more. And about a month after that, I went to see Norman perform. And he was getting up there, and he says, there's a new song I want to play for you tonight. And he actually shared with the audience the story. And it's there, and it's going to be on his new disc, Observation Deck. And it's called Just Goofing and Playing.
Perfect name.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, that's how you can tell a great player, is just that they can sit there and you say, boy, that sounds great. And Norm can just, he just rattles them off one after another.
Tell me a little bit more about your article and some of the things you discovered about Norman in writing it.
Well, as we talked, the thing that came to my mind was another part of the article in which Norman spoke of his time as a social worker. And I think that is so evident in his music and the benefits that he does, because he had that time in his life to really sit down and embrace people going through struggles and then be able to take that and turn that into a positive, to see the people turn their negatives into a positive. And that's what makes him, I think, who he is and how he deals with people.
The other thing Norman does when he plays too is he's up there and he's just so into his music, and then all of a sudden he'll start talking to the audience, and he just throws out these things. And I can remember sitting in the audience and having him throw out these comments to me. Hey, what do you think of this? And what are some of the funnier moments you can think of, Amy, about being in the audience and listening to Norman play? Has he ever singled you out? And
no, thank God.
Well, he will.
No, now I'm afraid. No, he's never singled me out, thank God. But he does. Throw comments out. He just loves audience participation, and he likes to feel that people are feeling his music, and understand his music. And it's amazing, just the comments that are coming from the panel just reinforce the feelings that you get in his music, and it's a good feeling. It's amazing that he's so talented and can bring that to everyone.
Right. He truly is sharing his gift with everyone in the room. I don't think anyone can go and see Norman Evans and walk away feeling like they didn't get to know him or take a part of him with him, because he really does. He just releases this tremendous energy that seems to touch everyone. What are some of your more personal Norman Evans stories, or some of your funnier Norman Evans stories? And I guess we should probably stay away from embarrassing stories if we must.
Oh, Ken doesn't have any stories.
I guess one of my fondest memories is just a night that Norman and I ran into each other in the parking lot of the building that I live in. And it's just a night that we just talked, as guys. We had a personal and a business relationship. But then this was a night we kind of just connected and just kind of laughed about stuff, joked about other stuff. And, that was one of the things that kind of reinforced my personal bond with him, in addition to professionalism, reinforcing my professional bond. So that was my fondest memory, I guess.
Everyone changes to a certain extent as they grow and develop, especially as they become more successful in their career. Have you noticed any changes in Norman throughout the year that you've been kind of watching him or covering him, or any changes in Norman the musician or Norman the person?
Well, not as much. I mean, as far as changing as a person, Norman, pretty much from what I've known of him, seems to have had all the tools already. It's just a matter of what every musician goes through, which is a growth period. Of course, his first show, I think, was called "Oh God, Let's Hope This Works." No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I mean, he's grown. He pushes himself, which is what every good musician should do, especially in the field. I don't know if you can call it jazz, because it does stretch beyond whatever parameters people set for jazz. And everybody's got 6 million different meanings for the word anyway. But on that level of musicianship, Norman pushes himself as he should. I mean, just in terms of growth, it's just a natural progression on his part.
His creativity comes up.
Yeah. I just, wish him. I mean, we're going to do everything that we can to support him, and I believe that he has the perseverance to continue, and I hope people in this area get an opportunity to see him now before they have to go to New Jersey. And yes, like a local friend of mine did about a local customer a few years ago who was playing around that isn't playing in Connecticut right now and had to go to New Jersey to see this concert.
Tell us about some of the changes or some of the struggles you've seen Norman undergo.
I've seen Norman undergo many changes. Musically, he's gone from watching Chick Corea and as fast as his hands move and going, wow, I'm going to get to that point, to the point of actually doing it, and the speed of his hands on the keyboards, or the power that he puts behind the saxophone when he plays. Personally, it's been a natural progression as far as spiritual and business-wise. Things have really grown
Are you the business brains and
No,
Norman
no,
the
no,
musical
no.
genius? You keep him on track.
I'm not the business brains.
Does he have a good business sense?
Norman has excellent business sense. Excellent.
Because in talking with Brian earlier, a successful musician has to be very talented, but they also, this is a business.
Mhm.
So he really does have the acumen that
Yes, he does.
is helping push him forward.
Without a doubt. And I learned from that. I am what I call apprenticing under Norman. I am watching his business savvy and trying to also duplicate it. And the amount of things that I have learned from Norman, business-wise, personally, musically, spiritually, I couldn't even begin to tell you where it's been and where it's going. Just that it's very positive. It's something that I've enjoyed a great deal, and that we want everybody to be a part of.
Norman does a lot of things right that on the local level a lot of musicians don't do. Norman keeps abreast of, keeps people informed of what he's doing or when he's going to be about. Just the simple things that just seem so easy on paper that a lot of artists neglect to take care of. They don't take care of their own house.
Right.
And it's really, really important for musicians. I guess I'm speaking generally now, but Norman's in a field where record companies, major labels don't pay as much attention. They want like whatever flavor of the month, be it rock or alternative or R&B or rap or whatever. They want the flavor of the month, and unless you're Wynton Marsalis or someone of that caliber, record labels really don't take much time to pay attention to you. And Norman, I'm really surprised for as long as he's been in the business that he's been able to keep positive about it, because there are a lot of musicians who are in his position who are big on the local level and are good enough to who in a perfect world should be at least given a look at by a bigger label, who don't get that opportunity. And he's one of those musicians I hope it happens for, because he does everything right, and not just playing all the things that you have to do to get yourself known without being obnoxious about it. No, there's just something about his playing, and he's a multi-instrumentalist too. That's something that hasn't come up yet. I guess what I was impressed with most about him, just as the title of his last album implies, Humanesque. He plays a lot of electronic keyboards, and it's so hard making electronic instruments sound human. Everything's digitalized or what have you, and to make a digital box sound human takes a lot of work. And like I said, Norman does a lot of the right things. I'm hoping it happens.
You can't sit still and watch him. Do you feel that way?
You can't. No, you can't. And I think he must go home and sleep for 5 days when he's done with the performance, because just the amount of energy that he puts into every performance is just amazing.
Yeah.
It really
He must lose 10 pounds.
at least that much.
Cheap. Huh, yeah. I've only ever that
I
either.
knew how to play that many instruments.
There's a lot of work
think
that
about.
goes into those performances. I was just helped Pam with the Middle Life Festival, and just being there with them in the small capacity I was. There's a lot of work that goes involved. There's a lot of equipment, and he does it all by himself.
Yeah, a sax player, but he is so tremendous on the keyboards and just the variety of his music. If you close your eyes, you would imagine there's 1,000 pieces, not just one man making it all. Do you think he's a positive role model for struggling young musicians, and probably just, in general, just a good guy who gives back to his community, who has a talent and a dream and is pursuing it full force, and thinks that rubs off on people?
I think the formula is you take all the musicians, we put them in a social service environment, so they can get their heads on straight, and then bring them back into the music field. Definitely. The first thing I was impressed with was that he's really, really down to earth. And I've talked with him a little bit about the music and how do I learn, because I'm trying to learn myself. And that's the first thing he says: learn more, keep learning, never stop learning. And some people get content. Some people get content in music, they get content with the big bucks. You know, and forget about putting foundation. If the foundation's in the right place, that'll always be the thing that stops you if you ever fall. And I think as a role model, that's important to show to kids that the foundation is the most important thing. And that's what Norman is in his music and when he talks to people and meets people.
I've always had the feeling too that Norman keeps challenging himself. He's got if he reaches the level, he aims higher, and he's got endless energy, and his heart is in the right place. And I think that comes across when he plays. I think as the audience really, can identify with him.
He appeals to so many different types of people. The age groups that he just goes through the whole range. If you look at some of the audiences that go to his performances, a lot of times for certain musicians you find that maybe you only get one age group in your audience, but the few times that I've seen Norman play, there's just been a range of people. Older people, middle-aged people, young people, children. He appeals to everyone, and I think that's great.
Deal with lots of aspiring musicians. Any words of wisdom or advice for the up-and-coming Normans of this world? And what advice would you give to Norman?
Well, I mean, one of the things that they have to do is they truly have to make the commitment that this is what they want to do. They also have to be realistic that they do have the talent to do this. But, I think that most people have this talent in them. And they have to learn a little bit about business. In Norman's case, he's been very fortunate to work with a personal manager who is very astute to the business world. And I think that that's not something that everyone will have the opportunity to find. But you have to understand that it's a business, and you have to use your head in that and just keep playing, keep at it, don't ever stop. And then of course have the right equipment. I mean that certainly is the most important thing.
And we know we're gonna come together.
Exactly.
Playing guitars.
Yes.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Well, he certainly appeals to us, and we know he's going to appeal to you because he's coming back with some more music. We hope you've enjoyed a few insights that we have on Norman.